Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika la wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu amma ba'd. We begin in the name of Allah, the creator, the sustainer, and we send peace and blessings upon the final messenger of God, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. How is everyone doing today? You can tell Ramadan is over. When you look around, this is called the post-Ramadan sluggish, kind of like trying to get through it, inshallah. So again, it's not about how many people come out and things like that. We wanted to make sure, since we're still in the spirit of Ramadan, that we get a topic like this out there. And this is very important, not only for myself, but for the outreach community here. As you know, we have a very vibrant, very effective outreach program and a new Muslim support system here. And as we go through our talk today, we want to derive lessons, we want to derive benefits, and do as much as we can to then, as a community, be able to understand the culture of people that accept Islam, so that we can always be there for them, and also to take part in this noble work and effort. So starting this, I want to first, I'm very humbled. I'm very thankful that we have our panelists, esteemed panelists with us today. It's not the easiest thing on a Friday night, driving from far away, beating traffic. And each one here has a somewhat of a commute, especially on my right here. Both of the sisters here, maybe they can mention that if they like, inshallah. So what I wanted to do was, I wanted to take our community through some of the questions, some of the challenges maybe even, and some of the unique stories that some of our new Muslim brothers and sisters had during Ramadan. And I think it'll be very beneficial for all of us, including myself, obviously, first and foremost. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm really happy for this, and I'm very excited for this program, inshallah. And I pray that, you know, as this grows, this is our Journey to Islam series, so this is episode 3. For those of you that haven't seen the previous 2 episodes, if you go onto our YouTube page on IIOC TV, if anybody wants to make a note or even a mental note, IIOC TV, subscribe. You'll get our updated videos all the time. We have 2 parts already up, part 1, part 2. This will be part 3. So we want to continue this and do as many episodes as possible, inshallah, God willing. So let's go ahead and get started. Drum roll. On my right here, we are going to start with Sister Marlene. Then we have Sister Blanca, and then we have Brother Frank over here. So I'm gonna go ahead and start on my right. I'm gonna start with Sister Marlene. Now these are some questions that it will be very beneficial, inshallah. The first set of questions, what I wanted to do, if it was okay, is I wanted to first ask you, sisters and brother, how you accepted Islam, right? And if you can just take us through that journey, just short and concise, so that we have a foundation which we can start on. Marlene, if I can start with you, if you don't mind.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
So I accepted Islam this year, on January 1st. I actually had to do a project for school about a religion other than mine. I used to be Catholic. So I did it on Islam. And after that, I just pretty much fell in love with the religion. So I kept studying it, and I walked the nearest masjid by my house. I needed to apply order to buy how to put on a hijab, because I had no idea how to do that. So I went to my local mosque that's like 5 minutes away from my home, which I come all the way over here. But I did my shahada there, and alhamdulillah, I became Muslim.
Alhamdulillah. I'm going to back up 2 steps. So you said you accepted Islam by first, or initially got interested by doing a project about Islam?
So yes, I had to do a project of another religion other than mine.
That is amazing. You see how, subhanAllah, like how Allah guides people. It's up to His infinite knowledge how He is guiding people. So as a lesson that we can quickly derive, or as maybe something informative for our community, you know, here we have at the IIOC mosque, we have tours of the mosque for our non-Muslim guests and neighbors and friends, right? Now imagine if, for example, Sister Marlene, she went through something like this, she went for a tour and she accepted Islam. Imagine if you're the one that invited your non-Muslim neighbor or co-worker or friend or colleague to the mosque, and then eventually they accepted Islam. Who would get all the reward? You would, because you planted that seed. Imagine that. So, and the part about, YouTubing videos about how to wear the abaya and the scarf, that's amazing. I mean, for maybe the majority of us, we don't think about that. But if you take a step out and look at it from the perspective of a new Muslim, it's very fascinating. So, thank you so much. Marlene, let me throw that question at you if you don't mind. Tell me about how you accepted Islam, if you don't mind.
I accepted Islam this year. I took my Shahada in April. I've actually known about the religion for a couple of years back now, many years, about 14.
Okay. 14 years, okay, mashallah.
But really didn't open up to it until recently. I met some new friends and they started talking to me more about the religion. And at that time I was going through some personal issues and I started practicing prayer and I started praying to Allah and asking for guidance. And alhamdulillah, he brought me a good friend at a sweet bakery. He told her about it and she says, I'm going to take you to the masjid, and here I am.
Imagine that. I had a bakery owned by a Muslim, directed them towards the masjid. This is utilizing your time effectively when you're working. This is amazing. Thank you so much, Sister Blanca. And also, just as a reminder, so this is the first Ramadan for our three panelists here. First Ramadan, meaning they have never had a Ramadan before. So you will hear some very interesting things and very humorous things as well, right? And this is to bring a little bit of a balance to our conversation tonight. So, Frank, your accepting of Islam was very interesting as well, right?
Assalamu alaikum everybody, how you guys doing? Well, my name is Frank, I like long walks on the beach, just kidding. No, the way I accepted Islam was through a co-worker 3 years ago. He's actually my first Muslim friend that I ever met and had. So I got curious about Islam, about his religion, and coming from a Christian hardcore background where my parents are ministers, my brothers and sisters do ministry, I got interested in his religion and I started kind of doing a little research about what Islam was to have that kind of little connection with him. As more research I did, I started asking him questions. Some questions he wasn't able to answer, so he actually brought me to IIOC and I met with Mustafa.
Yeah.
And I asked him several questions regarding theology, trying to compare what Christianity believes to Islam, and he was able to gracefully answer all the questions, and I got more interested in that. And then finally I decided to do my own research regarding other theological questions that I had, and I surprised him and his brother, who's also my close friend, and I came to the mosque to set an appointment with your mom, and I did Shahada here. That was done in February, and like they were so happy, and for me it's like been the best decision I've ever done.
Alhamdulillah. You know what's very interesting as well, if you heard in Frank's story, his family comes from a very educated, academic, ministry background. So as it is, it's always challenging for somebody to accept Islam. But it's even harder, I think in my opinion, maybe you guys agree, that if it's somebody from the clergy or the church, someone who's really, and for someone like Frank to then, take a step out and say, I need to look at my purpose of life again. Maybe I was born into something, I need to take a step back and learn. So that is something that we have to really ponder about, because it's not the easiest thing. As it is to accept Islam for someone who's new, it's not the easiest thing. You have a new culture, you get a new set of friends maybe, or you come to the mosque, you're like, what is going on? I don't understand the languages. So many different things going through somebody's mind. On top of that, the pressure from the family, right? So I appreciate you talking about that. Since I'm on your side, okay, so the bulk of what we want to talk about today is Ramadan, right? Your first day of fasting maybe. Now for the average maybe person who's been fasting 10, 20, 30 years, you might not remember how it was to taste a date for the first time, or sip some water or milk after breaking a fast, right? During iftar time. Take me through your first day as best as you can remember, if you don't mind.
Well, when I first heard about Ramadan, I got interested and I started asking more questions about why to fast, how to fast, certain practices during the fast. And I had read about the prayers and the 5 pillars, about waking up early in the morning. So my first time waking up at 3 in the morning was very hard for me. I kept hitting like a snooze button, like okay, come on, this isn't happening. But then I finally got up, and eating that early in the morning I was shocked. I was like, how could I do this? So I decided to go live. I'm like, you know what, this would be great for my diet. And as time progressed, I remember just like getting hungry during the day and doing the prayers. Like the prayers really gave me the strength to continue during the day. As we broke fast, I have never had a date before. So when I saw it, I thought about a cockroach, a dried cockroach. And so
Did you say a dried cockroach?
dried cockroach. So when I took a bite out of it, it was the most juiciest, sweet thing ever. And as it went down my throat, I was like, mashallah, like this is awesome. This is great. And I remember having my first cup of milk. And again, here your mom thinks I'm going to eat light, so I'll have a diet. That milk was so cold and so refreshing. I could have just like grabbed a cow and drink the whole entire thing. It was amazing. Like the first day was just simply amazing. Like that experience, I don't think I've ever had before, and I'm so privileged to be able to have the community prayer here at the mosque, where it's not just about like one person fasting, but a whole entire community of Muslims together, side by side, shoulder by shoulder, with the same purpose, same dedication, bound to the same God. That for me made a huge impact in my life.
You know, I can just imagine Frank, right? So you know, here when the days we're opening fast, we have like dates set out and water and milk. Then you have hundreds of people putting their hands inside the dates like this. I could just see Frank looking at it like, oh, dried cockroaches, and people touching it with their, you know, germs and stuff like that. So that's very interesting. Thank you so much. And the thing was, it was very interesting to have Frank here. One of the things we encourage, you know, well, I'll talk more about our New Muslim program here, our mentorship program. We encourage new Muslims to come. Why? Not just to go through the prayer and just tire themselves up, no, but to be part of the experience. Yeah, to be part of the experience. Why? Because we have areas where you can sit back, sit on the chair and just observe, listen to the Quran. Listen to the words of God Almighty and see how it soothes the heart, you know. And so we had, alhamdulillah, praise be to Allah, we had people that would come and they would sit down and observe. We also had a non-Muslim guest that came and they wanted to just listen to the Quran and they wanted to observe. For me, it was fascinating. When I saw this and I saw the interest that people had, I was very fascinated. So, Blanca, I'm going to throw that question to you. Your first day of Ramadan, being that this was your first actual Ramadan, even though I know you looked into it for about 14 years, take us through that if you don't mind. Did you also have issues with dried cockroaches and dates and stuff? Or?
Funny he mentions that. Yes, my little niece, she's 3 years old. She would break fast with me sometimes, and we would have dates, and she would call them cockroaches. Like, oh, cockroaches, they're so good. But my first suhoor was, I hit the snooze button as well. I almost missed suhoor, but I didn't, so that was okay. It was just iftar for me, because I had already practiced fasting, but I fasted during the winter, so fasting the winter and the summer was a whole different ballgame.
Days are shorter, right? So it's a little bit easier. You wake up, oh, it's time to break fast.
I got this, no.
Right.
6 o'clock would come around, it's like, really? Not yet? So, breaking fast too at the evening was my first experience, my first iftar was a little bit lonely because I had nobody to guide me, nobody to tell me what to do. So at that time, my mom was my mentor, so right away I got on the phone and I texted her and I said, what do I do? So she guided me, and alhamdulillah, after that it was somewhat of a smooth ride.
Inshallah. Let's, if you picked up one thing, and that's something I really want to hone in on. You know, as somebody who recently accepts Islam, our brothers and sisters, you'll be amazed sometimes, you know, and I've heard many of these stories, maybe you're familiar with it as well. They break iftar by themselves during Ramadan. Can you imagine that? Maybe the majority of us, we have families to go back to, we have large feasts, a lot of food. I know a brother, I think he mentioned, he said, you know, my first Ramadan, I basically had canned food. I opened the canned food and I was eating by myself. And he said, you know what? If this is Ramadan, I'm kind of scared to see it next year, if this is what I'm going to go through. Meaning it's really, you know, it's sad. And as a shortcoming, as our community, this is a shortcoming for us and probably many communities. This is one of the reasons why I want to do these programs, to empower all of us to start to take part in this. What can we do? We can invite right? And this is what some of the sisters are doing. The masjid here, alhamdulillah, the board members, they have a very good vision. We had iftar for new Muslims and our convert family every Friday, right? Outside of that, every Saturday we have a community potluck here, a community dinner. Outside of that, we had just individuals like yourself stepping up and saying, you know what, I want to have an iftar, breaking out the fast tonight, so invite everyone, right? So we have to get in the habit of doing this so that imagine if you're somebody new, you go to a new country for the first, you're just dropped into Canada, for example, right? You don't know anybody there, you don't know the culture, you don't know anything. You don't know where the local halal food is. How would you feel? Lonely, not knowing anyone. But then here comes someone says, you know what? I want to help you. You look like you're new. I'll show you where the halal food is, where the local mosque is, where the library is, all these things. It's a lot easier, right? Imagine that for our new Muslim brothers and sisters, what they have to go through. So just try to put yourself in that position of helping out as much as you can, inshallah. So I don't want to keep doing all the talking. Sorry, I want to make sure we derive some lessons and benefits from this talk as well. Marlene, if you can tell me about your first day, if you don't mind.
Well, my first day wasn't like a sister and brother. I actually woke up. I was very excited. I was like, when is it going to be time? I just wanted to do it already. So I woke up on time, probably like an hour earlier. I fixed up my breakfast and what I was going to eat and stuff. And, it was good. It was like, wow, I'm actually doing this. Like, it just felt like a really good experience. Throughout the day, I didn't get hungry or thirsty at all. I kept myself busy. I had a task to do, like try to read the whole Quran throughout Ramadan. So I just kept reading and reading, keeping my mind occupied. For iftar, it's very fast. Some of the sisters I met here, like one right here, Edith, we actually got together to break fast. At first, I was kind of like, oh, I don't want to go, I don't want to drive because I live all the way in Los Angeles. But I was like, you know what, I'm going to do it. So I drove and we went to a restaurant in Long Beach and we had a breaking fast. The date, it was good. It was pretty good. It wasn't like cockroaches. It was pretty good. I never had one in my life, so to me it was just like wow. And drinking water, that was the most amazing. I never thought water could taste so good. Like I took water for granted, and just drinking it after not drinking it for 16 hours was just like wow, like this is so good. It's just water, but it was a good experience.
Alhamdulillah. If I can just ask all three of you, were you guys working through Ramadan, like your regular? I know Blanca, you were. Marlene, you were. Frank, you were.
Yeah.
Okay. That even on top of it, right? Sometimes we take a break off during Ramadan, which is fine for those that want to do it. But imagine your first Ramadan, first time fasting, and you're working on top of that, right? So. Right. And that's your position, right? So you get a bit more thirsty.
Yes. I drink about a gallon of water a day.
Wow.
So not having water within my reach.
SubhanAllah. That's very interesting. Now, let me start with you, Marlene, if you don't, I'm going to throw this question at you. Not literally throwing it, but for you to answer. There's always, as a new Muslim or as a convert, there's always challenges, right? One always goes through challenges. And every human being is going to go through challenges, but specifically I think a convert goes through many more challenges or many difficult challenges. Did you have any specific challenges during Ramadan?
I did. I had a lot of challenges, but the main one that I can probably remember that was the hardest was explaining to people what I was doing. When they would offer me food, water, I was like, oh no, I can't. Why? So I would have to explain the whole process of Ramadan, and then I can't eat for 16 hours, so they would be like, wow, you're starving yourself, like, your religion tells you to do that, like, that's cruel. So that was like the hardest part for me. It kind of like would bring me down, but at the same time, sometimes I would even avoid it. Like, they would offer me food, I'm like, I already ate, like, or I'm not thirsty, or that I don't like that food, just to ignore the, like, questions and the answers that they were giving me that were so negative. That was pretty hard.
Besides, there was another challenge that you had?
Oh yes, my father.
Yes.
Kind of like a touchy one, but.
And you don't have to speak about it if you don't want to, right?
My father, he would always get mad because I would be here from like, past 12 midnight, praying Tarawih. So I would get home and he'd be like, what are you doing up so late? Like, are you coming home at this time? You shouldn't be out. So to him, he did
SubhanAllah. And again, I remind myself and I remind you, we have families sometimes as, quote, seasoned or born Muslims to go back to. How about for those of our brothers and sisters in our community that don't have that, right? So imagine that, Blanca, if I can ask you that question if you don't mind. Some of the challenges maybe you faced during Ramadan.
I had a couple. Mainly at home with my mom and my dad. They would think I was hurting myself, malnourishing my body. They thought, seemed like Marlene, it's cruel. Why would you do that? At one point, my dad thought it was because of lack of money I wasn't eating. So he came up to me. I was cleaning one Saturday, and it was hot, and I was sweating, and he said, if you're hungry, I can take you out and let's go eat. I said, no, Dad. I go, that's not the reason why I'm not eating. So I would have to explain it day in and day out, like the same thing over and over. With my mom, she couldn't understand either why I was out so late. Oh God! And then when she saw me full on gear, I call it hijab and abaya, she kind of freaked out. Then I started getting messages on my phone like, I miss my old Blanca. I miss how you used to be. I miss your, how you used to dress. And but that was pretty much it. It was my dad and my mom thinking I was hurting myself. At work, everybody was okay with it. Like they respected. They knew. Some of them didn't know, so they would try to throw food at me, leave chocolate at my desk.
just do. I want it in there, right? Leave chocolate on your table while you're fasting.
Because I was like, oh my God, I'm so hungry. I'm so thirsty. It's like some days I was like, sure, I'm okay.
How about the coffee thing? I know you mentioned the coffee thing.
I love coffee. Coffee is my weakness. 3 days is the most that I can go without coffee before turning into beast mode, I call it. It was funny because I felt like everybody was carrying a tray of coffee at work. People that didn't drink coffee all of a sudden were drinking coffee. I would wake up in the morning and my sister-in-law was brewing her coffee, so it was just torture.
Just torture. Alhamdulillah. For our crowd, for our audience, just by a show of hands, if we have any of our new Muslim brothers and sisters here, did you ever feel like that? Exactly what like Marlene and maybe Blanca were talking about, something with the family, just by a show of hands. A few people? Okay. Inshallah, yeah. And that must be tough, right? And someone, again, if you don't have that experience, you've never been there, it's probably not the easiest thing to do, right? So, Frank, some challenges.
Yeah, I had 2 challenges. One of them was work. One day my boss decided to move, and he grabbed 3 employees on a hot, sunny day to move boxes and couches and furniture. Well,
but did he know you were fasting?
He knew I was fasting. He knew about Ramadan.
Oh, that's wrong.
He chose me. So the 3 of us are moving boxes and furniture, and one of my friends like, take it easy, you're fasting, don't do too much activity. But at the same time, guys, we got this. And so I started doing it. I started sweating and just being out in the sun and putting things into the U-Haul and taking it to his house and so on. And the worst part was that after all that, he wanted to reward us by taking us to eat. So
you gotta move, and on top of that, he's gonna treat you for like lunch or dinner or something?
So right after that, he takes us to the place where I love, which is sushi. We all go eat sushi, and we're all sitting down, and everybody decides to order with their cold ice water, drinking it, and I'm just like sitting there, kind of like thinking, should I just like tip something to my mouth or something? But you know what? And God allowed that to be a conversation about what Ramadan was about and about what Islam was. So it opened a door to introduce Islam to the co-workers and to my boss. And so, even though it was difficult, I thank Allah that was able to happen. The second challenge was kind of like my sisters here, where there were times where I had to break fast by myself, and kind of like you get a little discouraged. Okay, well, what do I do now? And so you kind of want to text someone, but at the same time, you're like, I don't want to seem needy, But those were my 2 big challenges: the sushi and moving, and if that sometimes.
Alhamdulillah. So I know when you told me about that initially, about the moving, and on top of that having like taking you out for lunch, I was like, that's wrong.
Yeah. Well, the next thing I thought I could be a hamster and just like stuffing food in my mouth and save it throughout the day, but it didn't work.
Yeah. So that's actually very interesting, because if you see what Frank did, he used it to his own advantage, in the sense of talking to people, his co-workers, about Islam, right? And that's something we can always do, is if we're in a corporate setting, on a work setting, and you want to introduce Islam to people, this exactly like what Frank did is a very good way and a very effective way of doing it. So since we're on that, I wanted to also let everybody know here about some of the services that we have here in the outreach department on behalf of IIOC, right? Now, I'm sure by now everybody knows that we have an effective or an outgoing, doing their best as much as possible outreach program here. Some of the service that we have is, number one, doing dawah or outreach, calling people to Islam, a better message of Islam, not only here at the mosque but outside of the mosque. So just in the month of Ramadan, we were very blessed. We had a good amount of people, by God's permission, accept Islam. We were doing dawah outreach in the Braille Mall. We were at Cerritos Mall a few times, and we had a really good response. So if you're interested in taking part in doing dawah table, something like this, you can see our logo, right? It says, if you guys can help me out, what does it say? Yes. You'll be surprised with how many people come up to us in the mall and just look at this and look at us and be like, Jesus, Muslim, help me out here. And then I'll be like, I'll be more than happy to help you out. And we talk, and I'll be very honest with everyone. Sometimes just this tablecloth, within 30 to 40 minutes later, after a conversation with one of our outreach coordinators, they want to accept Islam. I've seen this happen time after time. Not only this, just by positive outlook, smiling, talking to people, being out. You know, one of the concerns that our non-Muslim neighbors and guests have is that Muslims are not going outside of the masjid, outside of the mosque, to talk to people about Islam. Have you guys heard that before? This is one of the biggest things that we hear, actually, when we go out and we do outreach and we do dawah. That, you know, we're very happy that you guys are here, but tell us why you guys don't come out as much. I said, you know what, we are. Can we get better? Of course we are, but if you're not being, if it's not shown to you on the mass media, you won't assume that Muslims are out there trying to talk to people. We do presentations in high schools and colleges and churches, but Fox News or CNN, they're really not going to show you that stuff, right? But that does not mean that Muslims as a whole are not going out there and talking to people about Islam. So we need more help, more volunteers. If you are interested in doing that, we have a training. We'll get you a good training, and then we'll go out and do some da'wah. We have a table outside in the lobby with another tablecloth of ours. It says memorized by millions, read by billions, ... what? The Quran. Yes. So just to kind of get people's attention, inshallah. So brothers and sisters, if you're interested, the table is outside in the lobby. We have a sign-up sheet. Just go ahead and sign up and put next to it that you'd like to volunteer. Second thing, and something that's very important to us as well, as so you hear about all these people accepting Islam, right? And here at this masjid we have, again, alhamdulillah, we have many people accepting Islam, number one, and many referrals we're getting from other communities, because maybe they don't have the services that this masjid has, right? So when we have new Muslims, for example, just taking our brothers and sisters here, as soon as they accept Islam, we have a support system here. We have a support system here that is, as soon as they accept Islam, we try our best within 24 to 48 hours to plug them up with a mentor. What is a mentor? A mentor is the one that will work with the mentee, a new Muslim, and coach them through the basics of Islam. How to pray, making wudu, just being there as a support system. Because if you speak to any new Muslim or convert, you will hear something repetitive, and that is that they didn't have a support system when they first accepted Islam. Right? And I see a lot of people nodding their heads, because this unfortunately happens. We get very excited. You've heard this many times. People accept Islam and we hug them once. Then the brother says, no, 2 times. No, 3 times. Right? So you have different things, and then they're getting confused. Then you have to change your name and all these different things. But what happened at the end of it? Nobody gave the email address, nobody got the phone number, and then now this new Muslim who just accepted Islam and left everything for the sake of Allah, for God, is lost now, right? So we have a support system here, and we need mentors. Alhamdulillah, as it is right now, if I'm not mistaken, we have about 50 mentors from our community and the local communities that are helping us with our new Muslim brothers and sisters. So you can probably tell by the number how many new Muslims we have in our program. Some mentors have up to 5 mentees that they're mentoring. So we need a lot of help. So if on the brothers and the sisters end, if you are interested and you want to take part in this noble work, it's a great job. It's a great thing. You will love it, and it also will increase your iman. Your faith will go by helping other people, right? And so if you're interested in that, you can also sign up at the table in the back. Just kind of put your name down and put mentor next to it, inshallah. Enough of me blabbing away. I just want to make sure you are familiar with the services that we have here, inshallah. Let's start with you, Blanca. Okay. Since I've started already with Frank and Marlene. Now, during Ramadan, I am sure, being that this is your first Ramadan, there are many unique things that probably happened, or funny stories, or things like that. Do you have one or two that you can share with us?
I have a couple.
You have a couple, okay.
As a new Muslim, I love the job, but
I'm just going to ask you to raise it just a little bit.
I don't
Okay,
wear
thank
it all the time. At work, I'm still trying to get used to it. So I have friends at work that they want, Friday comes or the weekend comes, they want to go out and have some drinks. So I kind of been avoiding those invitations. So this is, now I'm talking about my boss. So I've known her for 8 years. She's a great person. We're semi-close, we're pretty close. So when she had invited me a couple of times for drinks, and I kept avoiding that. And one day she's like,
we're talking about Coke and Sprite, right?
yes. She came in and she said, I give up on you. And it happened that we had a meeting that day, and I said, oh, please don't give up on me. So once we finished our meeting, I said, you know what, I need to talk to you. Let's talk about those drinks. So I said, I can go out with you, but it would have to be for coffee. And she said, why? I said, because I have accepted a new religion, and my religion does not allow me to drink, and I don't want to drink. And she says, well, what kind of religion is that?
Just like that, she just I'm gonna be straightforward, huh?
We're behind doors, and at this time it's all off the record. And I said, Islam? And she says, what? Why that? I said, I'm looking into it, and I decided to do like, you're not gonna bomb me, are you?
You're not going to bomb me, are you? Is that what she said?
So I knew she was kidding, and I knew she was having a kind of a sense of humor, and so I went along with it, and I said, don't worry, I'll call you and have you leave the building.
And that was just a joke. It was just a joke.
So other than that, I've had several people tell me the same thing, like, you're not gonna bomb me, right? You're not gonna bomb me. And I have a couple, I just can't remember.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll come back to you on the other one. Very interesting. She mentioned the story about, or she was talking about how her friends and coworkers were saying, don't bomb me, right? I have a very interesting story. So one time I was doing a tour, and this is a true story. I was doing a tour here in the masjid. So some of the services we give tours, right? To those that want to see the masjid, a tour guide and so forth. So we explain to them what a tour is. And just today, if you guys were here doing the Jummah, we had a group of close to 100 students that came. From a local university to take a tour of the masjid. So if you know of anybody, your neighbors, friends that want to take a tour of the masjid, see what the mosque is all about, let us know. So I was given a tour one time, and there were some students from a local university. So one would think they might be a bit intellectual and academic and so forth, right? So I'm giving a tour, and the tour is finished, and we're walking outside, and they're thanking me. They say, this tour is really good. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And then one of the individuals, she says, Jamal, I pass by this mosque all the time, and literally, before this tour, I thought this is a place inside where you guys make bombs. So I was like, okay, it caught me off guard. I didn't know if I was supposed to laugh, if I'm supposed to get angry, or I'm supposed to and I was like, okay, she's just joking. But she was serious, she would continue on. I said, okay, so now we don't make bombs here. You've seen the mosque, right? But the reality is, unfortunately, many people do think like this, right? They do think, and they might do it in a joking way, but it's interesting, right? That when Islam or Muslim comes up, you already automatically connected to what? Terrorism and bombing and killing. Not the 99.999% of people that do great things in Islam. That's always to the side. It's just to the point 0.00001 that's going to do something negative, right? That means what for you and I? We have to work harder, yes. We have to work harder to inform and educate the community outside, because you and I can get upset, right? That they're saying these statements, but we have to share the responsibility as well, right? That because for a long period of time, we have not been doing the job of talking to people about Islam, and other people, unfortunately, have taken this baton and are starting to say it in the wrong way. You and I then get upset because we didn't do our job. So what we need to do is, number one, acknowledge that, we have a shortcoming. But number two, we need to take part in outreach. And that can be done in so many different ways, brothers and sisters. If you remember during Ramadan, right? We had these gifts. Do you guys remember the Ramadan gifts? Little clear vinyl boxes that we made? How easy was that? All you literally had to do was purchase one of these and even get one donated. Go to your neighbor, give it to them and say, you know what? I am a Muslim. We're in the holy month of Ramadan. I want you to have this as a gift. That's all one would have to do. And everyone can do that individually right now. I'm sure everyone in here has a good understanding or an idea of how to cook food or purchase food. All you have to do is take that to your neighbors. Sometimes we live next to people for 10, 20, 30 years and we don't even know their name, our neighbors. I'm guilty of that too. We're all in the same boat. What I'm trying to say is that we need to get past this, especially if we're going to live in this country, which I'm assuming the majority of us are. We need to kind of get a bit more, in the sense of talking to people and being comfortable with our religion of Islam, inshallah, okay? Did it come back to you by any chance? Blanca? No problem, inshallah. Marlene, let me ask you the same question. Something unique, or did you have a funny story or something during that?
There's actually one story. I usually put more than one alarm to wake up in the morning. So, of course, first I put my budget, I put 2 alarms each. I woke up to an alarm. I didn't look at my phone, nothing. I just, turned it off, woke up, went to go have my morning breakfast. As I was eating at the kitchen table, enjoying my meal, I looked to the clock on our stove, and it was like 4:40 something. I was like, oh my God, I didn't know to spit my food out or what, but I was like eating when it was Fajr already.
Oh, so the time had passed, so now, okay.
So I was like, oh, what do I do? Do I continue eating? Did I break my fast? I was so scared, so I just stopped what I was doing. I told one of the sisters, like, did I break my fast? I still continue? She's like, no, it wasn't done intentionally, so still continue. So, yeah, that was one of the probably best.
Nice.
Like continue eating or?
No, I continue my fast.
Oh, right. No. That's interesting. Again, maybe some of us, we don't think about that. Like, we know the time, suhoor, finish, Fajr kicks in, so we stop. But sometimes you lose track of time, right? And especially if it's your first Ramadan, so that's very interesting. Frank, did you have something you wanted to share regarding maybe some incident you went through? Yeah. We all go through things, right? If you're comfortable with it, maybe if you had a story you wanted to share.
For me was prayer. Right after prayer, where everybody spits up and they use personal prayer. For me, it became like hopscotch, trying to dodge people bowing down in their positions and just jumping back and forth.
Hopscotch.
It kind of felt like, okay, where do I go now? How do I not interrupt people's prayer? And there were nights where, and I'm sure I'm guilty of it too, where during prayer, you could totally smell like lamb, like someone just ate lamb food. And it was like as you bow down for the position, and I was like, I think they have rice or lamb right now.
So it happens, right? When you're focusing on the prayer, you're trying, but the person next to you had a big iftar, right? And they let out the loudest burp. And so now you're processing through your mind, it looks like lamb curry, biryani, falafel. So is that did I get it right? Something like that?
Exactly.
And then?
No, it was mainly those two, just the hopscotch and smelling people's burps during prayer.
Hopscotch meaning because people were spread all over praying, right. You didn't want to cut somebody off.
Right, which I think I did at once, if someone put their hand, so I tried not to, and that became a little fun game afterwards, where I go now.
So you wouldn't think about this unless you get a perspective for someone who's new, right? So that's very interesting. Now, because I know our time, we have a little bit of time left. I wanted to also open it up for Q&A. So please, if brothers and sisters, you have any questions you want to ask, hold those questions. We'll pass around the mic. Everyone, our 3 panelists, you guys mentioned about family, right? We touched upon family a little bit. Is there something else that maybe you want to say regarding family challenges? Anything you want to add to that? Because I know that's probably one of the biggest struggles that maybe a new Muslim or convert has. Anything that you guys wanted to share regarding that?
I mean, I got the privilege to break twice fast with a family, Muslim family, and I got to see not behind the scenes, but kind of like the new perspective, like different culture of how a Muslim family comes together and break fast. For me, that was like a life experience, which I wish, inshallah, one day I could do that with my family. Like we all could do Ramadan together and break the fast together. So I mean, for me, that was just impacting.
So a family actually invited you over to break fast?
Yeah.
Was it the one that you said you were working with?
It was one of my coworkers. He's also a Muslim, and he invited me on, I think it was a Friday and Saturday, or Saturday, but I got to break fast with him, which was great because everyone was sitting down, and around a certain time it became like New Year's Eve, where everyone's like waiting for the time to hit.
Like midnight with the burgers. Right.
So that was, I was very honored and just like grateful that I got to have that experience.
Right. Marlene, Blanca, did you want to add anything to that? Regarding family, anything of that?
I did. Oh, I should have.
It should be good? Okay.
Well,
Technical difficulties, sorry. Oh, that's why you had it like so.
I would probably say like the people that do break fast with their family and that are familiar with what you do as your religion and you guys are both on the same page, like just don't take it for granted, you know, especially for myself that I don't have that kind of family, you know, that I can break fast or, you know, tell my aunt like, hey, let's eat a date, you know, at this time, and like, what's that? You know, just don't take it for granted, like, just appreciate every second of it. That's probably all.
Did you want to add something to that? You don't have to, but if...
No, just, I think what I would take from this Ramadan are a couple of things. One mentioning like educating myself more and being able to explain to my parents or the people around me exactly what Ramadan is, so that they can understand and maybe be a better support for you. That my mom and my sister would be in front of me. They said, well, you're fasting, that's on you. So, and then always be an example. Always be a good example and, you know, try to teach and show people the way.
Okay, alhamdulillah. So just in conclusion, if I can ask all three of you, is there any type of advice or suggestions you can give to our community regarding either Ramadan, outside Ramadan, anything to maybe better inform us about how to, you know, work with maybe new Muslim converts, anything that we're missing, and many things I'm sure we're missing. Maybe I can ask you first.
The biggest advice I could give to my brothers and sisters is really get involved in the community. Like really get involved. Like maybe you may feel like you may not have a lot to give to the new Muslim. Trust me, you do. You really do. Like just making presence and then even greeting them and being part of the new Muslim program that IIOC has here. It's a big help. At least for me, coming to the Sunday mornings at IIOC and seeing more new Muslims, and not only that, but seeing mentors and being able to like, hey, if I ever have a question and I see them, I'll ask them. It's huge. It does make a difference, and it does bring a new perspective to new Muslims, seeing that it's not just like one group, it's like the whole entire mosque being part of that same group.
Right. Before I pass it off, you know, Frank mentioned something about our Sunday class. For those of you that are not aware, every Sunday here at the mosque, we have a new and recommitted Muslims class. Just by a show of hands, how many are familiar with this class that I'm speaking about? If you can just raise your hands high for me, please. Okay, so good amount, okay. So just for those that don't know, every Sunday here we have this new and recommitted Muslims class. And what it is it's like an Islam 101 class. And we want to make sure it's about the foundation, the basics of Islam. So if you're a new Muslim, if you're a non-Muslim guest, or even a recommitted Muslim, meaning somebody who maybe is born Muslim, maybe, you know, fell off a little bit, but then came back years later to want to know more about Islam, this is the class that you want to be part of. And we're actually starting a new series on the life of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the seerah, right? And a very generic, basic overview about his life. For those of you that are interested, I would highly encourage you to come. And again, if you know of any new Muslims within your communities or family members, you want them to come. And if you are a convert or a new Muslim and you have family members that are non-Muslim and they're pressuring you or they're asking you questions about Islam, invite them. This class is for everyone. We have refreshments, we have food, we have a good time. It's like a family that we built, right? And we really want everyone to take part. So because we had a break for Ramadan because of other activities, we're starting back up this Sunday, inshallah, 1:30 to 3 p.m. If for some reason you can't make it, we live stream our classes as well. And you can find that online as well on IIOC's New and Recommitted Muslims group page, inshallah. Sister Blanca, if I can ask you that, if there's any suggestions or advice that maybe you want to give to us as a community.
Can I just mention, I have mentioned to be an example, and the reason why I said that is because I have two little kids at home, my nephew and my niece. My niece is 3 years old and my nephew is 4. So he sees me praying, and because the prayer is repetitive, he calls it practice. So he will ask me to, let's practice. So he prays with me. He knows all the movements, he knows what's coming next right after we say Allahu Akbar. He knows that he needs to go down. At one point, my little niece came in and she wanted to join the prayer. So he tells her, take off your shoes, go wash your feet. So just, continue.
So he picked it up real fast and he's already dictating to us.
Yeah,
That's very interesting.
There's a process before the actual prayer. Because I am a Muslim, I do use a guide for prayer, so he'll grab my phone, he'll go to YouTube, he'll find a video, and he'll lay out my mats and he'll start praying. So just, continue to be a good example, whether you're a Muslim for a long time, a new Muslim, there's somebody out there always watching. So the way that we act, the way that we speak, somebody's always picking up.
And that's very important, and always we're giving announcements, please don't double park and triple park and quadruple park in the parking lot and things like that, right? So we need to be a good representation of our faith out in public, at home, and so forth, inshallah. Marlene, advice or suggestions if you have.
Like my sister said, most likely, just help out people. More so because I had an experience with the masjid that I used to attend to. It's literally 5 minutes away from home, and I drive an hour to come here because they don't have the programs that they have here in IIOC. I felt like I wasn't getting anywhere, and all the people there, they all speak Arabic, and I was just like, how do I communicate? How do I get guidance? If you see somebody that you've never seen, or you're like, oh, is she new? Is he new? Just, I don't know the name of it.
It's okay, no need to mention the masjid name. No need to put it on blast right there. No, inshallah.
So just, help out people. If you don't recognize someone, just say hi to them. They're probably a new convert and you don't even know. If they've been Muslim for years. So just guide them.
Okay, alhamdulillah. So with that, we have some time for Q&A, and I really wanted the community to take part in asking some questions, any type of question that one might have. What I will do is, Brother Omar, if I can have you just pass around the mic from me real quick. Just simply raise your hand if you can, and okay, we already have hands going up, and just ask your question, and we'll do our best, and just direct it to whoever you want to answer the question.
Okay, I have a question for Frank. You mentioned your family is in the ministry. How do they know that you're Muslim, and how are they accepting it, or are you having any problems if you're comfortable answering that?
It's hard. They know that I do the research, and they're worried about my salvation. They're worried that they think I'm going to go to hell. They think I don't do this.
It's rough.
And it's understandable because I did ministry too. I was a college pastor, youth pastor, children's director, Sunday school administrator. I worked for a church. I went to Bible school. I graduated with theology. So growing up in church and having this now where they're like, where is this coming from? It's a little challenging. So it is kind of tough.
Question for Sister Marlene.
Yes.
You mentioned that you worked on a project for school. Was that college or high school?
It was for college.
And how was the reaction of the teacher reading your project?
They were amazed. She actually told me nobody had ever done one on Islam. So she was really amazed by it. I know a couple of students every time You have another question? Sorry.
In addition to the written report, did you do any verbal presentation to the class?
Verbal, yes. I did do a
What was
verbal.
the response from the students?
Their response, they really didn't say much. They just pretty much just listened to what I had to say. At the end, there was one student actually, he had a question. He just told me, he actually did tell me, he's like, oh, are you thinking of converting now? And at the time, I wasn't sure, because of my whole family issue and stuff. And I said, if I do, if I don't, I know I got some good information about Islam that I didn't know.
Interesting, very interesting. Sister here? Yes.
Can I make a suggestion for the sisters?
Please.
You mentioned in Ramadan that you would come and stay late for prayers.
If I could just have the mic just close by so they can. Yeah, thank you.
Do you know that you don't have to come and stay late, especially if you're by yourself? Because the moment you're not obligated, you don't have to do it. If you want to, but I think it would be, it would be good to appease your parents, when they're concerned and they're worried. I think that would,
Yeah, I was aware of that we're not mandatory to come. I actually wanted to get the experience, especially because it was my first time. So I really wanted to know what Tarawih was all about, the Qiyam. I really wanted to get that full experience for my first Ramadan. That's why I decided to do it. So I would call some of the sisters, be like, you guys want to go? Sometimes we would carpool together so we can be together.
Did you, before we take the next question, did you ever feel like, were you able to go to different mosques, or were you just coming to this mosque? Like in the various programs that you would try to attend with sisters, was it just primarily here, or did you?
Yes, it was primarily
Okay.
that I would come to.
And did you ever feel a sense of maybe, like, I don't know if burning out is the right word, but because Ramadan, it gets tough for everyone, especially in the summertime with the heat and the long fast. Did you ever sense that, or were you gauging yourself and pretty well throughout the month?
Yeah, there were some times that I would get tired, especially driving. I would be like, oh, I have to drive. The traffic was terrible, but at the same time, I was like, no, I have to do it. It's my first Ramadan. Like, I really wanted to get the full-on effect of what it was.
Nice. Tony, you have a question?
What's going on, guys? I have a question for everyone.
Oh, man.
All you guys, I'm a new Muslim, and I struggle from time to time. Some of my old habits that I know I shouldn't do, when I do, I have that guilty conscience that I did. It doesn't feel the same. I just want to know if you guys are going through the same thing that I'm going through. If there's certain things that you guys probably shouldn't have done, you guys probably did, it just did feel the same, you guys probably stopped eventually.
You don't have to go into detail or anything like that. Just an overview. No specifics.
There's some things that I do desire, that I do want, but I know that if I don't do them, I'll be okay. But still, as I'm thinking what I want, I think it's sort of like playing with my head and saying I'm gonna have it, and then I say astaghfirullah.
Right.
So, but I don't think I've done anything I shouldn't.
Okay, good. No, we'll leave it at that. Inshallah. Did you want to add to that, Marlene? or-
Yeah, well, of course, bad habits are really hard to let go all the time, especially if you're a new Muslim. You go into things that you once, thought they were okay to do, but as you convert as a new Muslim, you're like, no, they're not okay. I had a lot of bad habits. My life was totally different to what it is now, and I really haven't done anything bad because I really believe in the power of praying. And when I think about it, I just pray. Even if it's not time for prayer, I just pray because I feel like Allah's going to help me just to remove that from my head, and He knows best.
Yeah, I think we're in the same boat where there are struggles about old habits and stuff. But the one thing, at least that I remind myself that this is not a race, this is a sprint. And as Allah helps us and guides us, He'll help me, and hopefully I'll help you too, get rid of those habits. And you always have people around you, especially in the mosque, that can help you and guide you. And you can give you some counsel on how to avoid these habits, wherever they are, if they have hold on you or not. It's one of those things that Allah knows the heart.
And that's one thing I think we all need to understand, especially when we work with new Muslim brothers and sisters, that look, they've had a certain type of lifestyle maybe, and we all do, we all have shortcomings. It's not just like a new Muslim thing. Everybody has shortcomings, right? And it could be something, imagine a culture you've been part of for 30, 40, 50 years. Overnight now, you have to change everything. It's not, it's going to take time. It's going to take time, right? And we know this from throughout history, right? So my personal suggestion to myself and to everyone here is, being that, mashallah, most of you are attending the mosque here, if you see a shortcoming specifically from a new Muslim, just relax. Relax. If the hijab that the sister is wearing is a little too bright, relax. Okay? If the brother comes in and their pants are like long or something, relax. We have specific mentors in the community that are taking care of this. Because remember, this is a long-term project that we're trying to work on. We don't want somebody to accept Islam and then 2 days later they left the masjid. Why? Because you and I said something to them and it's very hurtful. And we have that, unfortunately, in various masajids, and may Allah guide us all and strengthen us all and be able to say good things, right? I just remember, you would never want to say that to your family member or someone like that. Don't say it to our family members too that accept Islam and join us, inshallah. So having said that, I think we have another question here, Ahmad? Sure.
Day of Ramadan, since we're dealing with this today, would you all, for example, feel like having a first day fasting or like fainting or something like that? That you feared for yourself, for your health? It's just physiological type of feeling.
I didn't. I actually did pretty good. I'm very proud of myself. So, I did pretty good with I would get hungry and thirsty, but I don't think I felt at one point of fainting. I felt weak a little bit by 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock at the very beginning, but as the month continued on, I was okay. Ended with a bang.
Big change, of course.
I didn't feel anything. The last 2 days, when Ramadan was going to be over, that's when I started getting headaches. Probably because I knew it was going to be over, so I was like, okay, I want to get over these days. But I started getting headaches, and dizziness and stuff, but I just went through it. Lack of, probably because...
A lack of everything. Ramadan, it's like, we all feel it. Lack of, we're getting to the finish line, it's just like it's there, but you can't, So, and as how Frank said as well just a few minutes ago, he mentioned a very beautiful term and concept that Islam is not a sprint, it's a marathon. Meaning, take your time as you're doing things, right? You shouldn't be extreme in one way. Meaning, don't try to do everything overnight, and the other extreme being what? You don't do anything, right? You got to have a balance, right? And he mentioned that, and I really want to touch on that to remind myself and everybody here to make sure that we do our best in that type of balance, specifically when we're speaking to new Muslim brothers and sisters, inshallah. We have time for about a few more questions. Does anybody have any questions? Yather? In the back there, Brother Omar. Like a sense.
Not really a question, it's a comment for Brother Ron that was asking about difficulties and bad habits, and just want to share something. So, even though I was born into a Muslim family, not a very practicing one, and I started to practice just a few years ago.
Alhamdulillah.
For roommates, but alhamdulillah, they're genuinely good people, but they just have different life practices, you can say, different habits, right? So when I started practicing, a little bit more religious as far as like prayer and stuff like that. They had girlfriends. After I also worked with them, so after work sometimes we go one of the bars. So I just want to say that just take one step at a time. It's not gonna happen overnight. Don't beat yourself up for it. If you're doing things that you know are wrong, that's the beauty about Islam. You can always return to Allah. You said you felt bad, and you feel guilty afterwards, and that's the beauty of it. To God and you ask for forgiveness. So just keep doing that and just take one step at a time. So don't kill yourself over it. It's going to take some time.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And actually, our brother is one of our mentors here. So this is what we want. We want to get more people, to empower you more to be part of this community, not just to come and pray and leave, to be part and parcel of this community. Again, I remind myself and you, if you're interested in mentoring, meaning a mentor towards a new Muslim, we have trainings, we show you what to do, what to expect, what the criteria is. Our sign-up table is outside, you can't miss it. Kindly sign up, your name, phone number, email address, and just put next to it that you want to be a mentor, because think about this, we're having many people, alhamdulillah, again, accepting Islam. We want to make sure that they're all paired up with someone who can teach them the basics of Islam, inshallah. We have time for maybe one more question. Does anybody have a quick question at the? Yes. We'll conclude with this one, inshallah.
Did work ever get in the way of your ribs? And if it did, how did you?
Can you repeat that one more time, please? Sorry.
Did work ever get in the way of your ribs?
Oh, work. Did work ever get in the way of your?
Yes. I'm able to do Fajr at home, but 12 o'clock and 4 o'clock come around, I'm not able to do so. My work doesn't really accommodate. We don't have like a praying room. Actually, I tried going to the parking lots to pray. I work in a big shopping center, but I'm a little scared. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little scared to do the prayer by myself because there's nobody out there looking out for me so to me I can feel a little bit shaky and scared. I go home and I make up my prayers at home, but yeah, work does get in the way of my prayers Monday through Friday.
As for me, yes, it does. I work with elderly people in a senior home, so obviously I can't leave them by themselves, so I always have to have like a nurse or CNA come cover, and I have to be like, oh, I have to go to the restroom, and every time I look back, I'll be like, oh, there's a long restroom break, you know, so sometimes I have to do that because it's much easier, because if I have to say, oh, I have to go pray, why do you have to pray, why do you do this, more questions, which I don't mind answering them, but if they take it really good and a positive way, then I'll give them all the questions, but some people don't, and it really burns me down, so. But alhamdulillah, I have to be able to pray.
Yeah. It's a constitutional right to, practice your religion. But we have to be flexible with the administration.
Sure.
Always ask permission, maybe during lunch time, maybe if you take 10 minutes or something, you give them back 10 minutes after hours, But hold on to be diplomatic with them. Don't just force it on them. I don't know
Frank, did you want to add something to that?
Yeah, just a little something quick too. Yeah, I work because I deal with the IIOC in the state.
Watch out.
With them. I'm not allowed to, like on Fridays, to come to the mosque and pray. So what I did is I prayed in my boss's office.
The same one that made you move, right? So now I'm going to pray in your office.
My prayers, I make sure I go to his office and that's where I do my prayers.
This is an issue that CARE has dealt with many employers. They can always have CARE write to your employer a letter, and they will give you time for your Jumu'ah prayer.
Inshallah.
If they don't want you to miss time for work, tell them, okay, I'll take this time for my prayer, but I will make up afterwards.
We have an attorney at law here for you. Law at work, inshallah. Anybody needs, we have one here, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. May Allah reward you all. May Allah bless you all. And honestly, I want to, again, from the bottom of my heart, say thank you to our panelists, Frank, Blanca, Marlene. I know it's not the easiest thing to come up here. I know many nerves are going through and you're nervous and leading up to this date. But I think as a community here, we're all very thankful of you to share your stories. And I hope it's touched me for sure. And I hope it's touched everyone here and everybody's benefited from this, inshallah. So, of course, and so we all as a community, exactly, we all want to congratulate you on getting through the first Ramadan. You know, we might think it's, oh, we just went through the whole month, alhamdulillah, it's easy. No, it's not, it's very challenging. Everybody, I think, especially during the hot days and the long days, but you know what? Allah makes it easy. Right? You might be going through one of those days and you're like, you know, this is tough. Allah made it easy because you're sincere in what you do. And this is why Allah has you here. right? You guys go through a lot. When I say you guys, I'm saying as my family, we say we understand, but maybe we don't understand, and I hope through these Journey to Islam episodes that we're doing, we can further empower and educate our community here to take part in the resources that we have, inshallah. So in conclusion, I want to thank everybody for coming out. Isha is going to be starting in a little bit. I think they said 10 o'clock, so we have time to refresh our wudu, help with the cleanup. I need everybody to help me with the cleanup, please. Make sure all the chairs are back. Make sure we leave this place in a good setting. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Jazakallahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.